of sneaky, slinky featherweights, we have a prelim appetizer for you between Damon Jackson and Pat Sabatini. Sabatini's a little bit more bulked up than that, but if you did like that appetizer and you decide that you want to go ahead with the main course, we have Touchy Fili, Andre Fili, a nickname that my wife absolutely finds disgusting, and he's going to be taking on Señor Perfecto, Bill Algeo. The craziest part about this fight, Matt, is that Andre Fili debuted at UFC 166, Velasquez versus JDS 3, sandwiched between Kyoji Horiguchi, he got a win in that fight, and Tony Ferguson, he got a win in that fight. And Andre Fili, of course, also won, and all three of those men won by finish. But for Andre Fili, he's about a year younger than Bill Algeo, who debuted years after that. So, you know Fili, he's been around with the UFC for a very long time. 9-8 with a no contest throughout this tenure. The last three fights have been a little bit odd for him because before that, he got a win by split decision over Charles Jourdain. He beat Charles Jourdain in that fight for sure. He loses to Bryce Mitchell, which is going to happen, got grounded out there. Daniel Pineda, that fight ended due to an accidental eye poke, and he lost to Joe Anderson Brito by TKO. So MMA math right off the hop, and your brain's going to go, well, Bill Algeo beat Joe Anderson Brito, and Andre Fili lost to him, so Bill Algeo wins this fight. Well, that's not so, because these guys are very well matched up. Body type-wise, very, very close in size. Fight style, very, very close in terms of their fighting styles. They're going to strike. They're long-rangey. They can work some on the ground as well. I think this is one of the best matched up fights on this card. I'm really looking forward to this one.
Andre Fili's a wrestler in disguise, and not enough people know about it, though. That's the one big thing about this matchup that I think most people are overlooking. Yes, Bill Algeo and Andre Fili strike in a very similar manner on the feet. They're both weird volume strikers because they'll throw single shots and try to rely on power, even though I wouldn't say either one has top-tier power by any means. I guess I'd ever so slightly favor Algeo with his finishing ability on the feet. But Fili, he moves really well. He throws a lot of combinations, a lot of weird looks, will switch stances. These guys and Alex Caceres could all fight each other to a split decision every other weekend, I think, if I'm being completely honest. But the thing about Fili is he has shown the ability to go out there and take down fighters, and not just fighters who are primary strikers. I always go back to when he fought Dennis Bermudez, who I know at that point in his career wasn't the same Dennis Bermudez who was like a top 6, top 7 fighter, but still, Andre Fili went out there and got multiple takedowns on him. And I believe he lost that fight by split decision. No, he won that fight, sorry. But I thought he won that fight handily. Like, the takedowns were more than enough for him to secure that fight for me. And I do see him going back and fighting in a very similar game plan to this one, too. The thing about Algeo is he's great at striking on the outside when he can use some of those prodding attacks. He has a very strong, straight shot down the middle. He has good front kicks, of course. Everyone's going to remember the shot that he hit Ricardo Lamas with in the third round of their fight. Almost hurts him. It was really wild.
Almost hurts him.
He hurts him, but he has him hurt. That's all I'll say. But that's the problem. When you think about every single Bill Algeo fight, you think about some of the highs from his striking. And I don't know about you, Craig. I think about him with two hands on the ground, struggling to get back up as someone's on his hips.
Bill Algeo, that's my biggest point. He's been taken down in every single UFC fight and his fight on Dana White's Contender Series back in 2019. It is the biggest thing. It's like, oh, I'm fighting a kickboxer. I'm fighting a Muay Thai artist. Well, I better take him down. Well, everybody knows that, and the book's out on Bill Algeo. It was a bestseller in the New York Times. When you look at him, Herbert Burns took him down. I don't know how Bill Algeo got out of those grappling exchanges because Burns was in on a triangle, in on an armbar. I don't know why they gave Bill Algeo a performance bonus in that one because Herbert Burns, I didn't watch the fight originally. Ortega Rodriguez, I didn't watch it because I had other things going on, and then I had to go back and watch that fight. And everybody told me about what happened, but yeah, I get, like, it was so weird to see a fighter just not stand up on the stand-up and then stay on the stool first. It was an odd ending to the fight. Bill Algeo gets a performance bonus, and such is life. But when you look at Algeo, my lasting impression is Lamas had success with the takedown. Spike Carlisle had success at the start. Algeo had to rally throughout that one. Ricardo Ramos had tons of success with the takedown as a striker.
He looked like Khabib.
We know Ramos has that aspect to his game. Who does Ricardo Ramos train with at Team Alpha Male? Andre Fili, Matt. That's the answer. Joe Anderson Brito had success at the start until his cardio fell off, and Herbert Burns' cardio fell off, and then Bill Algeo was able to win out. So we know how good of a striker Algeo is. We know how tricky of a striker Andre Fili is. But for Fili, takedowns against Charles Jourdain, takedowns against Sadiq Youssef, takedown, against, like you said, Bermudez, against Michael Johnson. Was it height of the powers, Michael Johnson? No, but it was still Michael Johnson. So Fili definitely has that in his back pocket. It is a really fun fight, and Fili has a lot of bones on his record as well. By a lot, he has two, as many as Bill Algeo has in his short tenure. But when it does come down to this one, Matt, very well matched in terms of this fight. When we do look at the odds...
It's just weird, because if I may... Where does the winner of this go? Like, for Fili, he's already fought and lost to, if we're being honest, a lot of the guys, even in the top 20 range. Because he has been around for so long.
Rodriguez...
Calvin Kattar beat the brakes off him in Calvin Kattar's UFC debut on like a day's...
down, too.
But on a day's notice, he boxed his ears in. It was terrible. It's just, my point is, for Algeo and for Cosce, see, I'm even mixing them up right now, and for Andre Fili, I feel like they are good fighters, don't get me wrong. It's just, we've already seen their ceiling, so it's hard to figure out what happens next.
We thought, coming off of last week, we talked about it, on the live show with the sidekick, Julian Rosa, Keem Dawodu. Who wins? They fight Lerone Murphy. But if they don't make that fight, whoever wins this fight, Julian Rosa, Lerone Murphy, you probably see that one happen. So we do look at the odds. Algeo open to minus 160 favorite. The line switched. He's a plus 103 underdog. For Fili, open plus 145. Minus 126 or thereabouts. So
Fili versus Nathaniel would be fun.
Yeah, and Fili did gain quite a bit in terms of those odds. We have a look at the fan vote. It surprised us as it is to you because I don't know where it's going to be. I'm going to say over under 60% Algeo.
I'll say under.
You're going to say under, and it's over 676 total votes, 70% Algeo, 81% by decision for the 30% that have Fili, 79% by decision. So the odds have switched. Fili's the favorite. But 70% of the fans have Bill Algeo, so where do you stand on this one?
I find this a very difficult fight to predict, not just because the odds are so close and the fighters are very similar themselves, but the thing is, if Andre... Okay, I'm going to have to really break this down. If Andre Fili fights like a wrestler, it is a good path to victory because that is a weakness of Algeo. But Andre Fili himself is not a wrestler. So it's not going to be perfect, and it is going to sap his gas tank faster than fighting like Andre Fili would. I know all this sounds weird, but if Andre Fili fights like a volume striker who mixes in his takedowns, he can keep that pace for a very easy 3 rounds. If he decides, oh, I'm a volume wrestler now, that's when I am going to start to worry about if Algeo can come back as the fight goes on, because we know how good Algeo's cardio and sustainability is as fights can continue. So that's an area that I think Fili can have a lot of success in. It's just, will that sap his own gas tank even worse to make this fight closer as it continues? Ever so slightly, I am going to pick Andre Fili. I think his volume numbers might be a little bit better, so we don't get a finish, and if I do favor his wrestling, then more than likely, I'll say the judges are probably going to favor him just with the top control and maybe a few better volume numbers, but I'm having a really hard time with this fight. I think it'll be a fun one, though, for the fans.
I like Algeo with his striking a little bit more than I do with Andre Fili. You talked about the X factor of the wrestling, and that is the kryptonite to Bill Algeo's game, and then he has to come back as fights go on. Will Fili's gas tank be able to hold up? We saw Fili in a fight against a rangy type of striker in Charles Jourdain get knocked down in the first round, rally back and have a good second round, and then arguably win the third round, and he wrestled in the second, he wrestled a bit in the third. So the game plan's right there, but with Bill Algeo, I do like the wrestling aspect of his game, and I like the fact that, again, you touched on it, the fact that this is so well matched, and these two guys do fight in similar manners, and if you look at it, the last couple of fights for Bill Algeo, Joe Anderson Brito, and Herbert Burns, I mean, they are oddball ones, especially that Herbert Burns finish, just the way that it did end due to exhaustion. That's not something that you see very often, but I do like Algeo in the matchup like this. We're split on the pick. I've got the underdog, Señor Perfecto. Algeo, you're going with Touchy Fili to get the win. Really eager to see everybody's thoughts out there on this one because the odds, our thoughts, and the Topology votes are kind of skewed all over the place. So we need your help on this one. Comment down below. We'll touch on it quite a bit on Question Mark Kicks. That's 2 hours before the prelims on Saturday. Tune into that one before the big card. Sandhagen versus Song. You're not going to want to miss it. Keep it locked in with Fight Night Picks, as we always say. Let's get into it.